Welcome back. This is episode 2 of my franchise mode breeding challenge in Planet Zoo. Unfortunately, I seem to be having a problem recording my voice audio in Planet Zoo. It doesn't seem to be a problem in other games, and I tested it out before and it seemed to work with Planet Zoo, so I'm not really sure what's going on. I have to do a little bit of investigation on that. But for now, I have to redo the audio for this episode, which is not a huge deal, but just so you know, that's what happened here. If you watched the last episode, you would have seen that I bought 3 Arctic wolves, and so I'm going to start this episode off with a time-lapse where I build the habitat for them. The wolves were definitely my favorite part of the Arctic DLC, but I loved all the animals that they came out with, so I definitely want to try to work with them soon, but I definitely wanted to do the wolves first. I still haven't even bred any of them yet, so I can't wait to see what the babies are like. It's kind of funny because I feel like I've played this game so much already since it came out, but at the same time, there's still so many animals that I haven't had at all, and so many that I've had in a zoo but never really, looked closely at or didn't have for very long. And so that's why I want to do this with every species. It'll be so fun to get up close and personal with every single one, And I haven't really decided about the exhibit animals. I don't think that it's going to be as big of a challenge to do that, especially because I think they usually breed faster. But that is another thing to consider. So if you have any suggestions whether I should or should not do that, please feel free to let me know in the comments. I also realized in this episode that I still haven't done any mechanical research, which at first I put off because I wanted to save money and I didn't want to build a building, and I wanted to make sure that my mechanic could keep the fences up to date. But I think I'm starting to make enough money where it makes sense to do that, and then I'll be able to get the building materials to make some cool structures and make my zoo look prettier, because right now, honestly, I don't really like how it looks so much, and I want to, update it very soon. That being said, I feel like I almost have to study architecture just to know what I want to build and be able to make something that looks cohesive and nice. So I'm going to have to see and get some inspirations from some other builds, whether that's real buildings or in the game, because I know there's a lot of people making really cool things, so I want to maybe become part of that someday. As you can see, I'm doing something pretty different for this habitat when it comes to terrain. I really didn't want to do the same thing every time, and I wanted to try new things just to get in the habit and to get used to the controls and what works and what doesn't. And so I feel like this maybe doesn't look that nice. I thought it would be an interesting concept as like a snowy mountain type of feel. Feel free to give any feedback you want in the comments. Hopefully you won't be too mean about it, because I am still trying to learn and figure it out. But obviously, if you have any suggestions or things that you think would make it look nicer, or ways I could change it, I am open to all of that. When I thought about it later, both this shelter and the one I did for the wild dogs, I realized that I probably should maybe try to incorporate more rocks into it. And so maybe we'll try that in the future, whether that's redoing one of these shelters or with another habitat somewhere, because I think maybe that would help a lot. And I again didn't put plants in this habitat, and I meant to. I think it just slipped my mind, and I was so excited to get them in the zoo and just meet their needs, that since they didn't need any plants, I just said, okay, I'll get to that later, or just whatever slipped my mind. So I think that will also help make the habitats look a lot nicer, is when they start looking full and alive more than just the animals. In my past zoos, I always ended up pausing the game pretty much every time when I would build a new habitat, which once we get more going, I probably will have to do that, just because I don't want to have to stop and, go look at other animals all the time. However, right now it makes a lot of sense to keep the game running. One, because the guests will still keep donating for the wild dogs, and at the same time the wild dogs will continue to breed, and the baby one that we have already will maybe grow up sooner. And so that just helps the challenge along a little bit while I'm doing other things, that can keep happening in the background, because hopefully there won't be too many problems with just one other species. Now that the Arctic wolves are in the habitat, I've brought us back to normal speed so that we can put in the final touches, give them everything they need, do the terrain, and obviously, like I said before, I didn't do any plants or rocks, but everything else, this is when we're doing it. I wish I had got more close-ups of them in this video. They are so cute, and I love seeing them roam around and interact with each other, and so hopefully soon I'll get back and I'll get some more close-ups of the animals and just see them interact and everything and behave like animals do. But hopefully for now at least we can see how the exhibit comes along and go from there. The other thing is that I kind of worry about the guest view of this habitat. It seems like guests like it enough, and I did put the food, the water, and the enrichment up close to the glass, but obviously with the mountain it's kind of right in the middle, and when I first built the habitat it seemed good, but as you'll see I had to make it bigger because the terrain, like the mountain, made the overall like traversable area, it made it a lot smaller in the habitat, so I ended up having to make it bigger several times, and so now the mountain seems kind of smushed up close, and so maybe at some point I'll move it, or maybe I'll decide to do something different altogether. We'll see. I'm gonna speed it up once more just a bit while I do all the terrain, just because it's mostly just snow, and part of it is just waiting for the temperature to be cool enough to actually put snow in, and then it's just trying to get all the corners and edges of the exhibit, and so obviously it's not super exciting, but it has to be done so the animals will be happier. But I think in the end it turns out a lot better. Just the mountain sticking out of grass looked very out of place, but I think it looks a bit more natural once it has snow and dirt and rock in here. So hopefully you think so. Obviously I still want to improve it later on with more objects and stuff, and maybe even make a regular kind of shelter. We'll see how that goes. I'm kind of disappointed that I couldn't get snow to be on the mountain. I couldn't tell if it was maybe I didn't have one of the coolers close enough to it, but I thought it would get that area. Maybe I have to put a cooler actually on the mountain or something, or maybe like steep terrain can't have snow on it. If you know or have any idea about that, please put it in the comments. I'll try it out and see, because I thought with a mountain, you know, you think a snow-capped mountain or something, I thought that would look kind of cool, but I couldn't get it to work so far, which was kind of too bad, but I think it still looks okay as rock anyway. But now we're just about done with this episode. The only thing left is to think about next episode, really. And so obviously the plan is to continue breeding. I'm hoping that the Arctic wolves will breed and we'll have maybe a baby, or at least like a pregnancy. And perhaps the wild dog baby will grow up so we can buy her a mate too. That would be really nice. I also need to check because I think I might have slowed down animal aging, which for this challenge I don't think would be helpful, so if I did, I'll change it back. But I also want to try to get a new kind of animal for the next episode. And I didn't buy any in this episode like I did in the last one, but I think I want to do timber wolves, because I think it would be kind of cool to have the first three be the three dog-like animals in the game. So that's kind of the plan, to look for some wolves in the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and please consider subscribing. I'll see you later.